Welcome back. Today I'm talking to one half of one of Britain's biggest ever comedy double acts, Cannon and Ball. It's Tommy Cannon, who I saw, and I'll tell him this, I saw them in Torquay summer season in 1984 and was blown away by them. They were probably at the top of their tree then, you know, with their big show on ITV. We tried to do this interview earlier on in the year and had one of the most stress-inducing technical malfunctions we've ever had. So fingers crossed it goes well today. It's Brydon and Tommy Cannon.
Don't forget, you can hear the full-length, longer version wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey Tommy, can you hear me?
Hi Rob, how are you?
Hey look, this is already going better than last time.
It's good.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. Thank you for doing it. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. Normally, if you were to talk to someone who's 85 years old, you would only be talking about their glorious past. But you have got so many things on. Let's start with something that happened quite recently, and I could tell was just so lovely for you. Tell me about Robbie Williams.
Oh my goodness me. I will forever, it'll always be in my memory. We were all singing to one of Robbie's songs.
You're at one of his shows. You've gone to see him live and you're at one of his shows.
No, we're in our lounge.
Oh,
we're all doing this business. And I said to my wife, I said, text Robbie, tell him what we're doing. And so she texted him. And he said, that's fantastic, Tommy. He said, listen, he said, I'm at the arena in Manchester, he said, in 2 weeks. He said, bring all the family down. He said, come down. So I go down, excited as heck. I can't believe it. And we sit down, and we're about 150 feet maybe from the stage, something like that. And he came on stage, and he's walking down the stage. He turned like that, straight down, looked right at me, and went. And I looked at Hayes, my wife, I said, and all the family, I said, well, did he salute me? I said, nah. Then we all went, no, it's something he does in the act. Off he goes, and he's doing the show and everything. He gets to the end, he said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm dedicating this last song, he said, to a legend who's in the audience. So we're all looking for the legend. I'm going, I wonder who it is. Who is it? Must be some big star. Must be. And everybody's looking around, the old 20,000 people. And all of a sudden he went, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to dedicate this song to Tommy Cannon. Tommy. 20,000 people are chanting Tommy. I mean, buckets of tears, the family are crying. Oh my God. What's going on? It was, even now when I talk about it, I can't grasp what he actually did. So now we go to the VIP room, and he stood there, and he looked right at me, and he come rushing up to me, put his arms around me. He said, Tommy, I love you, mate. You're a legend. And I've got that picture on my wall of him with his arms around me. And something that I will never, ever forget. It was just so, I don't know. I still think now and again, I still think to myself, how did all that happen? How did that happen? You know? And then, to top it off, he gets hold of one of his, Robbie gets hold of one of his songwriters and says, write a song for Tommy. I've got a song that I've recorded. It's waiting to go out. It's a great song. It typifies my era, if you like. It sort of goes, I don't need to be hip, wearing clothes that don't fit. I'd ask for TikTok, I thought that came from a clock. And that typifies me. Yeah. It's all about that. It's too cool to go to school and all that. Oh, it's a wonderful song. So I'm waiting for that to be put out there, yeah.
What a fantastic thing to happen, and to get that respect from somebody as big and as he is. I want to take you back to 1984. You and Bobby were doing a summer season at Torquay, the Princess Theatre, and I was on holiday with my family. We came to see the show. Hilarious. Just the whole room buzzing. Tell me about those days, the summer seasons around that era.
Well, I think just it was every year, you know, you would go somewhere, do a summer season of maybe sort of certainly between about 15 and 20 weeks, working 6 days a week at the theatre. Then you would, on the Sunday, you would go to another seaside resort and do a Sunday concert. Then you'd have to get back for Monday night to start again.
What was your appetite like for all that work? I mean, when you said then that you did the extra show, and did you have an appetite for that?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. It was like we never even dreamed of shows like that, Bob and I. Yes, we sort of saw them, and we didn't ever think that, well, one day we'll be doing that. And it was, you know, if you went to Blackpool and you worked 6 nights at the Winter Gardens, on the Sunday you would get in your car and you would drive down to Torquay or wherever it was, and you come back the Monday morning and you start again.
For people that don't know, that's a heck of a drive, Tom. I mean, you know, it's one thing to say you'd go from Blackpool to, I don't know, Llandudno or wherever, but if you're going, good Lord, wow.
Yeah.
So you're doing the summer season, all right? Now, and that drive, I mean, you guys must have been just buzzing.
Well, yeah, and it was 2 shows of the theatre where you worked for the 6 nights. It was 2 shows, and then you would go Sunday, like I said, and it could be anywhere. You get in the car and off you go.
It's wearing me out just hearing it. Before you went into show business, were you both welders?
Well, to be honest with you, Rob, I got the job as a welder, and I wasn't a welder. I was lucky to get the job because I had a relative who was the foreman there. Yeah, so he got me the job, and the irony of it all is the fact that I was stood by the clock where everybody clocked in, and I was waiting for to be assigned to a job, nervous as heck because I knew I couldn't weld, and first person to speak to me was Bob. 500 men on the shop floor, and he walked in. He said, "All right, cut." I said, "Yeah, I'm good, mate." He walked away, and as I looked at him walking away, I thought, I mean, that's a funny little character. And that was how we met. Yeah.
Wow, that's remarkable. That really is, isn't it? The chances of that.
The chances of that, I mean, the surprise came after more than anything, because he kept coming to me after, I don't know, been there maybe 2 or 3 months, and he came and he said, right out of the blue, he said, do you want to make a double act? I said, what? What are you talking about, a double act? What's the double act? He said, a singing duo. I said, Bob, I can't sing. He said, well, how do you know I can't? I said, because I've never sung, Bob. Yes, I've sung when might have been in the bath or whatever. I said, but I've never sang in front of people. I said, yeah, I'd never do that in a million years. So I said no, and he kept on and on and on and on. And then one day I was just singing along with one of his songs, which was a favourite of mine. It was called Autumn Leaves. And I joined in halfway through, and he stopped. He said, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm sorry, Bob, I'm sorry. I said, just one of my favourite songs. He said, that's it, you're done. You're singing up front with me. And that was how the double act were born.
I hadn't heard that story before. And I knew he was such a big part of your life, obviously. And I know how much you miss him because he went too soon. But when you tell me that, wow, that he just came out of the blue and said a double act.
I know. The thing was as well, I mean, I didn't even know what he meant by a double act. I thought, I don't know what he means.
That's astonishing.
Yeah. I mean, and I always remember going to Roy Nordfeller's working men's club, He said, I'm working there Friday night. He said, come down, the lads are having a pint. I said, oh, okay. I go down and he sings. He's very good. He came off, I had a bit of fun with him. I said, I can't believe you got paid for doing that rubbish, Bob, to be honest with you. And he had a bit of a big giggle about it. But even then, he still didn't let it go. He kept coming back. What he saw in me, I have no idea. He must have seen something that would be advantageous to a double act or whatever. I don't know. But the funny thing, Rob, about all that is that as a kid, I loved double acts. I loved them. I loved Lola and Hardy, but absolutely Costello, Martin and Lewis. I loved Eric and Ernie. I loved all the double acts. And it's strange how I ended up in a double act.
So you started then doing an act, and the thing that I always remember, and it's for people if they want to see it, it's on YouTube, is you and Bob on Wheel Tappers and Shunters. And you do this thing, and Lee Mack has told me, because I know you know Lee, and of course Bob knew Lee very well. He tells me that this was the act at that time. You had a fantastic kind of high concept device, which still, if you watch it, it makes the hairs on the back of your neck. Tell everybody what it was you used to do in those days.
I was sort of, considering I couldn't sing, I was the singer of the act, and Bob was what he used to do, it was strange. If we did a nightclub, when we were just slightly before we got well known, he would queue up with the punters coming in the theatre. And he would have a camera around his neck on a piece of string, and he'd be in the queue waiting to come in. I've come to see my mate, I love him. Tommy, you know, I love it. He's a pal of mine. And he used to be talking to the people. It was amazing. And then one day back at the Variety Club, Bob, he comes in, Bob, late, like an hour singing, and I love him. That's my lyric, that, in front of all the people. And suddenly, we'd arrange for a bouncer to come down and grab hold of Bob and take him off the stage. This particular night, the bouncer, for whatever reason, the spotlight hit him as he was getting hold of Bob. And he absolutely loved the spotlight, and we couldn't get him off stage. He was like that. Whoa, this is show business. I mean, he's in the spotlight. I had to go to him and say, listen, you're holding the act up now, get off. I said, we can't do this, we've got to carry on. And he had a bit of a giggle like that went off, you know, yeah. I mean, them days were, I don't know, they were very special.
But that device that you did, where you would stand on stage, and it's up on YouTube, and Bob starts going, isn't he great? And then he gets up on stage with you. How long did you do that? Because obviously you get to a point then, as you said, when you're too well known to do that. So how long was that, the act?
For a good few years doing that, because we didn't really get anywhere. The press said we were overnight successes, and it took us 15 years to get on TV.
And during that period, you know, when you watch old Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, and you hear that they were doing 5, 6, 7 shows a day, and I've seen black and white clips of them, and their timing, it is like a razor, because they're great, but they've done it so many times. So when you're doing that same act, how tight did that act become?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it was just, to be honest with you, one day he came on stage. I used to go on singing a song before Bob, like maybe a couple of minutes of the song, and then he'd come walking on and pull his braces. But in them days, he didn't shout "Rock on, Tommy," because he said to me one day, he said, listen, he said, these braces are a nuisance. They're like a brass strap. He said, they keep coming down. He said, and he kept putting his hand like that to pull them on his shoulder. So this particular day, he came on and he went, "Whoa, rock on, Tommy." And I stopped the song. I went, "What the hell's that?" He said, "Rock on, Tommy." I said, I know. I said, "But you've never done that before." He said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "David Essex wrote a song." He said, "Rock on." He said, "And I heard it on the radio. So when I got to the theatre, I remembered it and I thought, I'll just do that." And he went, "Rock on, Tommy." From then on, I was known as Rock on Tommy.
So in terms of a time scale, What was you did Opportunity Knocks, yeah?
Yeah, we did. We did that, 19 something, 70. Anyway, the thing is, when when we did Opportunity Knocks, we walked into, there were hundreds and hundreds of performers there waiting for auditioning. And there was a guy on stage, and he was, when we walked in, and he was playing the piano. And Bo said, "My God," he said, "that's terrible. He'll never pass the audition." It was Les Dawson.
Was it? And he was doing that funny playing.
Piano.
We should say, in case some young viewers have come here by mistake, we should say that Opportunity Knocks was the sort of Britain's Got Talent of its day. It was and a lot of big careers started there. Was that the thing that launched you?
No.
What was it? What was it that launched you?
Well, certainly wasn't Opportunity Knocks, because when we did it, we sang. And when we went back, we were doing comedy, because it took 2 years for us to get back on. And Mr. Green came onto the floor and said, "What are you doing, boys?" And I said, "We're doing the act, Mr. Green." He said, No. He said, "I think I remember that you sang a song." I said, "That's right, we did." I said, "But we've changed the act now." I said, "So we're doing comedy." He said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Well," he said, "be it on your own heads." And he walked away. Right? We came last.
Did you? Yeah,
we came last, yeah.
I mean, things like that, when you look at what you went on to achieve, it's like a science, isn't it? You can look at this, so the two of you, and you come last.
Yeah.
How long from coming last to starting to get some momentum and starting to go somewhere?
I think because there was a ladder in them days that you started on. You started in pubs, working men's clubs, nightclubs, theatres, and if you were lucky to get a theatre, but you were double lucky if you got onto TV. So we climbed that ladder, and we went to Glasgow Empire. I always remember going to Glasgow Empire. And once again, this is something that I do believe, that people start their lives off on one path and come off, but they always go on back to the path that they were meant to be on. And I remember this guy being in the wings when we came off at the Glasgow Empire. And as we walked past him, he said, "Well done, boys." And that was it. Years later, we go to LWT television studios, to the offices, to sign our first contract. And as we're signing the contract, we look down the corridor, and this guy's coming down the corridor. And it was a good few years after we'd first seen him. And I said to Bob, "We know him, don't we?" He said, and he opened the door, and the man was called David Bell. And he said, "All right, boys." He said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "You were the guy in the wings, weren't you, when we came off?" He said, "That's right." He said, "Pleased to meet you," he said. "David Bell, head of Light Entertainment, LWT." So all them years went by, and once again, meant to be this man. It was strange.
There's a Paul McCartney song called "Take It Away," and it's all about bands and things. And there's in the chorus, it goes, "You never know who may be listening to you, and you just don't know, do you? Even you could be having a bad gig, but somebody there could see something in you." Over the course of the career, I heard you had a period where you fell out. Is that true? And are you happy to talk about it?
Yes, it's very simple to talk about it, because during the heyday of our career, management, for whatever reason, decided to get entourages for us, to take us places, to drop us off, do this, to do that. And I had an entourage of 4 guys, I think it was, and Bob had the same. And what we didn't know was, in them days, we didn't even know how to register into a hotel. You get to the hotel, "Right, boys, go to your room, see you in the morning." Bring the cases up and all that nonsense. And what they would do then is they would come down to the bar, both entourages, and meet, and then start making stuff up. Like, "You won't believe what Bob's talking about, Tom." Right? And then the other half would say, "Hey, Tom's the same, he's talking about Bob. Oh, hey, there's trouble there, it's really bad." it got to me and Bob that for some reason, then we thought to ourselves, we didn't know what was going on. So we thought that, I thought that Bob was talking about me in a bad way, and he thought the same way about me because of these entourages. And so eventually with Watson, we got together and I said, Bob, what's wrong, mate? He said, I don't know, Tommy. He said, it can't go on this. He said, it's ridiculous. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, Bob. I said, I think it's the entourages. So he said, he said, I think the same. I said, okay. I said, we'll get rid of them. We got rid of them. That was it. Best of pals again.
Let's go back then to where we started, which was, it's 1984. I'm watching you at the Princess Theatre, and then I went and started at drama school in Cardiff and had a job working at the New Theatre selling tickets, and you came there as well, and I saw you there. Was this the time of the big Saturday night TV show, mid-80s?
Yeah. 20 million viewers. It was incredible.
Amazing.
I know, we didn't even realise that until David Bell came and said, do you know how many viewers you're getting on the Saturday night? I said, no. I said, well, don't, David. He said, you're getting 20 million viewers. I said, oh my goodness me. We never realised. We had no idea.
And the blueprint for the beginning of those shows, and I think your live show, is you come out, and then in the classic double act tradition, on comes Bob, and he undermines you. There's a misunderstanding. So it would always be variations on that theme, yeah? Yeah.
Oh, because I just think that, Bob was what I call a comedian's a man that stands there and tells jokes. A comic is a funny man. He's got funny bones. And I always knew that he was going to be a comic, because his facials, the visual look, the way he used to drop down and have his knees bent, and everybody used to think I was 6'6", because he used to squat down, sort of thing, And I think one of the most memorable things was when I used to sing "Wind Beneath My Wings," actually to him, and the end of that was that I would walk across, and he'd be on a stool, and he'd be asleep, and I'd pick him up, walk across to the corner of the stage, blow the spotlight off, and walk off, and that was our ending. But I had to stop doing that because he gave me 2 hernias.
Did he see you seriously got injured? That's funny. You had big guests on those shows. There's also, I remember the one where do you remember where you had Status Quo on?
He got quite irritable with them because we didn't know that they had the words of what they had to say on the back of the guitars. Right. They hadn't learned them, so they put them on the back of the guitars. So if you see it and you watch careful, you can see them just tilting the guitar so they can see the words that they have to say back to us. And Bob got really irritable, and he went up to, I don't know which one it was. I went up to one of them, and he went, I'm fed up with you. And he went like that with his head, and he was a fraction away from whooping him. But oh yeah, he was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
And you have, I looked at the dates. You got a big tour coming up. When does that start?
It starts in September. I've got 25 dates in September up until the end of November. Then I go into pantomime, and then I come out and I do another 25 dates after the pantomime. So yeah, I've got one, and there are other things, Rob, that at this moment in time I can't talk about them.
All right.
They're in the air, but things are.
I've heard you're taking over as the host of Question Time, but we won't. We know we'll keep it a secret. We don't have to say it now. Okay. Tommy, it's been such a pleasure. When I think back personally, a little bit like Robbie Williams, I suppose. Yeah. When I think back to coming and seeing you guys in Torquay in 1984, and have loved your stuff ever since. So to talk to you now has been a real pleasure. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure, Rob. My pleasure, pal.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
Welcome. See you soon.